Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. I hope you enjoy. Story number 1. Hard Names, Soft Hearts. Written by ____ Everyone knows of Homo sapiens sapiens. Everyone has their own name for them, some artful and some more technical. Almost everyone of the wider interstellar community can agree that they're arseholes. From leaders that flaunt their nature of their Earth, to pirates and miscreants that use rather inventive threats and violence to enforce their whims. If any earthly made it onto the various interstellar media platforms, it was never something nice or wholesome. Someone's alliance broke, marauders struck some innocent outpost, on and on. Everyone knows of Earthlings, but not many know an Earthling despite being surrounded by them. They're a small block in a grand scheme of things, something their political leaders are still coming to terms with. Despite the mundane block of power they represent, their diaspora is a second to none, including species driven to near extinction through unfortunate misadventure and warfare. If there are mines, you'll find Earthling miners. If there are fields to be tended or harvested, you'll find Earthlings taking care of it. If you get in trouble, they're more than likely the ones who will respond. Not a particular nation-state, company, or enterprise, but individuals or small groups of Earthlings. If you go looking, you'll find examples. But you have to go looking, which is a shame. Else you'd never hear about the SS Grimlock incident. It's hard to read its name, much less say, but it was a fascinating event. SS Grimlock was a bulk handler, something the Earthlings called a tugboat, that happened across a comet orbital platform that had lost stabilization and was sent drifting into space. The platform's shuttle compartment was lost during the collision that had destabilized its orbit, meaning what was left of the Fury crew were now on their way to becoming victims of the latest misadventure. Another bureaucratic footnote, as no one could respond without prior approval. Interstellar rescue is expensive. That didn't stop the platform's crew from sending out a beacon when it noticed Grimlock. Of all the species to stop, it was them. The Grimlock didn't have the space to take on the Fury crew, but that didn't matter. They had resources, 3D printers, and time. Within a week, the platform's structure had been repaired and reinforced, and additional atmosphere generators had been jury-rigged together by the Grimlock's crew to keep everyone breathing. 3 weeks later, the platform was in orbit around a designated agricultural world. True, the Fury couldn't land. No one had proper papers. Papers take time. No one would force them out of orbit, but neither could they make planetfall. Those Earthlings crewing the Grimlock and those working in the fields didn't care. Donations of foodstuffs and textiles were arranged with spare parts and other surplus from Grimlock to keep everyone safe and sound. Strangers who weren't connected politically, ideologically, or even spoke the same language banded together to help a species that their species didn't have the best political relations with, simply because it would be a shame to not help them in some form, even if that was providing half of the last cookie, even if space spiders were supposed to be enemies. Because maybe they'd be the ones in need of help tomorrow. End of story. Story number 2. A typical day at the office, written by Echoing Cascade. At the desk of Sentient Resources, an anxious-looking A.N. is going over her datapad when she suddenly speaks up. Scarlet Dawn. Boss Chief the man? A tired-looking human male in his 50s size. Conrad. I said you could call me Boss, Chief, or the Man, or all three. The A.N. slowly nods. Right, so, anyway, I think you should take a look at this. She manipulates her datapad and transfers a file to Conrad's screen. Conrad quickly reads over the report. The Imarak Motsu in accounting filed a report on the human female that shares the office with him. So what? Take a closer look at the issue reported. Conrad began to read the long list of grievances and frowned. Whistles while working, which proves Sally Burnside is not given her 100% to the task at hand. Chews too loudly, it's too passive, shows too much initiative. Does not share her opinion enough, overshares information, breathes at irregular intervals. Conrad moves the screen so that he can look at his secretary in the eyes. Is this a joke? The Iron shakes her head. No, and read point 53. Conrad quickly finds the compliment in question, face palms and reads it out loud. Refuses to acknowledge being irritated, requiring 3 days and 432 inquiries before admitting being angry by yelling for no apparent reason. Should we do something? Yeah, before someone gets hurt. We'll talk with their supervisor next week. While the AN secretary started to move on to the next report, she received a new mail and smiles. Good news! Oh! What happened? The new complaint by the Amarak. Conrad narrowed his eyes. How could that be good news? Let me read it to you. She clears her throat. Human Sally has been shopping for a two-handed axe, a large shovel, and looking at remote places in nearby woods while at work. When asked, she simply smiles and claims it's a surprise for me. See, she wants to take him camping, to bond together. Yeah, no, give me the contact data for her supervisor. The Aryan woman looks confused. No! She was startled, but rallied quickly and did as told. Hi, Karostas here. It's about 2 members on your team, Sally Burnside and Mutso. Transfer the Imarak somewhere he can't work alone, and give Sally 2 weeks off, effective immediately, and give her offer of a month of therapy. No, I don't care how efficient the duo are, but why am I doing this? Let's just say I'm trying to prevent a tragedy. So just do it. Goodbye. She wasn't planning to go camping trip, was she? No, she was not. Good catch, by the way. Any later, and this file would be admitted to evidence. To prove premeditation? No, as a mitigating circumstance. The AN secretary returned to work, having learned something new. Even human patience has its limits. End of story. Story number 3. I.O.U. Written by Teller of Tall Tales. I owe you, man. That is what the human had said after dropping the comms device in my hand and slowly hobbling up the ramp to their newly repaired ship. No one had believed I saved an injured alien, much less that the strange silver part I was given was a communicator. But again, that was many years ago, back when I, and most likely the human, were young men. I'd been in the forest scavenging for berries when I heard a boom and the falling of many great trees. I ran towards the noise out of curiosity, finding a path 3 times as wide as I was tall and felled trees and a divot carved into the ground. I followed the long trough-like divot through the forest until I found what had made it, a massive circular ship that hovered just off the ground. A ramp extended to the ground from the middle and a crumpled, bleeding heap of a sentient. I quickly ran over, finding the dazed and confused human. There were cuts and punctures up and down his arms. One leg was bent at an unnatural angle. They were saying something in their language, something I couldn't understand yet. I quietly invaded their mind, adopting the strange mammal's language as my own. Help me get a med kit. It's all at the top of the ramp. Please help me. I didn't say anything back. I just ran up the ramp, looking for what my mind told me was a box of medical supplies. Spotted a metal box with a green cross emblazoned on the front, and I grabbed it, and I ran out to the human. Cut the arms of my suit with the shears. I was briefly concerned looking at the skin-tight fabric. But when I retrieved the shears, I saw that they blunted tips. I felt the worry assuaged. With the human's instructions, I cleaned and bandaged and splintered his wounds and broken leg. After giving him something called oxy, he began to calm down. Slowly, he came to his senses. He blinked twice, looking at me, but then shook his head softly, long, vibrant red hair swishing about. Thank you. I got thrown around quite a bit after the miscalculated jump. But, thanks to you, I'll live, and hopefully be able to get this thing home. I helped the human to their feet as they stayed. I owe you, man. Need anything? Press this little button here, and I'll be able to open up a comms link anywhere in the universe. Anyway, I need to get going. Navy don't like it when the test pilots of their new toys get lost for too long. Again, I owe you, man. He slipped the comms device into my hand and hobbled up the ramp. Now, here I sit in the brig of a pirate ship with nothing but a pointless little silver doodad. I sighed and pressed the button again. Suddenly, there was a thud against the hull of the ship that made me and the 2 others jump. And a boarding party. We were in the middle of empty space. Who could The sound of kinetic firearms reached us dully through the hull. I could scarcely believe my ears. No military used kinetics anymore. Any mildly effective round would have enough recoil to majorly injure most species. But the sounds of exploding propellant were getting closer and closer and closer still. Then there was a silence for a moment, and the door beeped. 2 stacks of 10 masked and armored humans swept into the brig, bulky rifles raised and sweeping every corner until the all clear was given. Then one checked the device on their wrist and nodded before slipping the gas mask off their helmet, letting shoulder-length red hair fall loosely. "Let's get you guys out of here. I've got a debt to repay." End of story. I would quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and Patreons: Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Barky, Lord Azrakal, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Dragzoon WRE, Holly's Sister, Arcadian. Thank you very much.